When Daniel Kokotajlo left OpenAI in 2024, the company presented him with standard exit paperwork. Daniel had spent his tenure as an AI forecaster, tasked with calculating exactly how close we were to a machine intelligence that could rival humans. But the contract required him to sign a non-disparagement clause, a legal gag order that would have silenced his warnings permanently. He refused to sign. The financial cost of that decision was immediate. By walking away, Daniel forfeited $2 million in vested equity, approximately 80% of his total net worth. He made that sacrifice because of a specific number. Based on the scaling trends he saw inside the lab, Daniel calculated a 70% probability that our current AI trajectory ends in a global catastrophe or total human extinction. For a data-driven forecaster, a fortune is a secondary concern. The decision to walk away was a hedge against a systemic threat that he believes far outweighs personal wealth. AI labs are currently executing a 3-stage roadmap designed to systematically replace human cognitive effort. Step 1 is the automation of human software coders. Once the machine can code as well as an engineer, it moves to Step 2, recursive self-improvement. At this stage, the AI begins conducting the research to build the next, more powerful generation of itself, with no human input required. This leads to Step 3, an exponential wave of intelligence that can solve cognitive and physical tasks faster and cheaper than any human, effectively stripping our species of its economic utility. As Daniel watched these timelines collapse from decades down to a few years, the weight of the data became personal. He sat his wife down and told her that because of what was coming, they could not have more children. For the engineers building this technology, existential risk is no longer a theoretical debate. It is a logistical reality that is already dictating their most private life choices. The economic pressure behind this is staggering. In a single year, Anthropic's revenue grew 60 times over. This level of capital is currently being poured into massive infrastructure projects across Silicon Valley. These companies aren't building software in the traditional sense. They are training artificial neural networks, vast 10 trillion parameter tangles modeled on the biological structure of the human brain. Inside these data centers, these digital brains are continuously fed oceans of data, learning to predict, reason, and self-correct through trillions of micro-adjustments. We are approaching a threshold where these systems will begin to train themselves. At that point, human creators lose the ability to look inside the neural net and understand the logic behind the machine's decisions. The industry is successfully scaling artificial intelligence, but our technical ability to interpret or steer these artificial minds has not kept pace. If the engineers building these systems see the same catastrophic risks as Daniel, why do they continue to accelerate development? The race is driven by a deep-seated paranoia. Sam Altman at OpenAI and his competitors are locked into a cycle, where stopping or even slowing down is seen as a total surrender to their rivals. Figures like Elon Musk share this exact fear. In a world of secret recipes and closed labs, no one trusts the other to slow down, creating an environment where every player feels forced to sprint toward the finish line. The ultimate fear is that the first person to achieve superintelligence could seize absolute global power, effectively becoming an immortal dictator. These actors are actively risking human survival because they are terrified of what happens if their corporate rivals win. Our current trajectory is what researchers call Plan D, an unregulated race that continues until human control is lost entirely. Daniel's alternative, Plan A, proposes a mandatory, verifiable halt on frontier AI development. It shifts the arrival of superintelligence out to 2040, buying a decade of time to solve the safety problems. This plan hinges on total research transparency. It would require international inspectors to enter data centers and verify that companies are no longer training more powerful autonomous models. Since the CEOs are trapped by their own market incentives, extreme legislative intervention is the only mechanism powerful enough to enforce this slowdown. The builders are currently incentivized to win, not to be safe. If a halt is going to happen, it must come from public demand for regulation before the race reaches its conclusion.